Hello.
Hello.
Are you welcome everyone to the TBS Pioneer Profile Series. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge that here in Toronto, also known as Toronto, we're hosted on traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. We also recognize the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and the Inuit peoples. Today, we are very grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. We're so happy to continue this series with our fifth episode featuring Cindy McLeod, who recently won the Valenteyn Blues Booster Award at the 24th Maple Blues Awards that took place virtually. Holger Petersen is here with us tonight as well to conduct the interview with his questions. Thank you so much, Holger, for joining us. The interview will take around 50 minutes, and then we will have 10 minutes for your questions. If you're watching us on Zoom, you can drop your questions on the Q&A or on the chat box as usual. We're streaming on TBS Facebook page simultaneously, so you can leave your questions on the comment section there as well. I would like to take a brief moment to thank our year-round supporters, Toronto Arts Council, Ontario Arts Council, as well as Government of Canada. And we'll leave the virtual mic to Holger without further ado, but just before that, a quick reminder, TBS is a not-for-profit charity celebrating its 35th anniversary, and it relies on membership and donations. We have been bringing free programming during the past year since the beginning of the pandemic, and it's really important to have the support of our followers during these challenging times. All donations are tax deductible and can be done easily through our website, torontobluesociety.com. And on that note, I would like to turn to Holger to begin the interview.
Well, thank you very much, Huma, and everybody involved with the Toronto Blues Society. It's a pleasure to be able to celebrate a wonderful person who we did. It's great that Cindy is the winner of the newly named Valenteyn Blues Booster of the Year Award. It's a very special Maple Blues Award honoring outstanding contribution to the Canadian blues music industry. Derek Andrews, the president of the Toronto Blues Society, said, "Every city needs a leadership figure like Cindy McLeod to keep the flames of music strong." Cindy's personal passion for the Calgary Blues Festival and projects related is an inspiration for all and makes her a deserving recipient. Cindy, just to talk a bit about her for a moment, is the founder of the Calgary Blues Music Association, as well as the Calgary International Blues Festival and the Calgary Midwinter Blues Fest. She's also the producer and artistic director of that organization and has been instrumental in creating what has become one of the largest blues festivals in Canada. Cindy has also received many other honors in her career. In 2019, she was the Indus Calgary's YYG Music Awards. Cindy is also the host of Blues Witness. It's a radio program which is heard weekly on CJSW Radio 90.9 FM in Calgary. It's also online. So congratulations, Cindy, and it's a pleasure to be able to say that in person to you tonight on behalf of everybody from the Toronto Blues Society.
Thank you, Holger. It's I have to remember that you're actually interviewing me. It seems usually it's the other way around. Interesting to be in the other seat, and I can't think of anybody I'd rather do it with because you sure have a way of putting people at ease.
Well, thank you very much. And, you know, I've done so many interviews backstage at your festival over the years, and you've done such a great job programming the festival and bringing a real eclectic combination of different artists. Just curious, maybe we could start by talking about the Calgary International Blues Festival. Maybe give us a bit of background on your involvement with it.
Well, this summer, it's certainly grown in size from when we started. It was one day and, a handful of artists. And now it's a week-long festival, as is the Midwinter Blues Fest. They have similar mandates, but slightly different perspectives. So clearly the one in the summer is outdoors, so that allows for 4 days of magic in the outdoor air. The winter festival, of course, being indoors, and more, I don't even know what to say other than I'm so thankful for the incredible talent. I mean, that right off the bat makes it a pretty easy job, because the talent pool is far and wide and really deep. And I wish I had a few months to program instead of a few days, because it's really tough. And I keep thinking, okay, well, I've got a wait list now. What's coming up this year? I really am aiming for blues genres. And I mean, the blues is a broad stroke anyway, because I think, R&B and soul and funk and gospel and even Cajun music often fall under that banner. But it is really true blues and not reaching into the pop world and things like that. And nothing against those that do, but I'm just really proud of the fact that we're a blues oriented festival. I really look at a broad spectrum. I try to have a mix of Asian, various cultural backgrounds and styles, to make it as interesting as possible. And I may even approach it a little bit like I would doing a gig or my radio show, where it has a distinct beginning, middle, and end, and there will, build to a crescendo, and then, have a bit of tension release, that kind of thing. So I try to aim for that. And certainly I don't program for myself, although I happen to love and what they like and the feedback that I get there. So that's kind of the target with the artistic programming anyway.
You're probably getting calls, and every second question is, so what's happening this summer with your festival? So maybe we could talk about that for a minute. How do you answer that?
I'm feeling hopeful. And I don't know exactly what that'll look like, but I do feel hopeful that we'll have some iteration of the festival. We've been working hard behind the scenes with the government, with Alberta Health, city to and the city themselves to work out a good, safe plan and have the ability to throttle that. So in other words, we're aiming. We start with as small as we can go, but still trying to plan for as large as it could possibly be, and all points in between. So it's still a bit premature from the Alberta Health perspective and the government. They feel they'll know more even in a month. It really is predicated on the vaccine rollout, but it's looking like there's some events going to be happening in the summer.
And traditionally you run at the end of July on that long weekend. So gives you a little extra room compared to a lot of other festivals, I guess.
It does indeed. It does. And, that is certainly working in our favor this go around. And about that, people have questioned why we run that weekend. In Alberta, that is a long weekend. So it's really nice to be able to have that late night dance party, which we do after the main stage closes. We move across the street to an indoor venue, and that runs a little later. And some people like to stay up late and enjoy every inch of the blues that they can get. And the late night stuff is a little looser. It's festival headliners, but they often jam together and it's a different environment. It's more intimate, and it's a lot of people really love that it's kind of electrical in there.
During the daytime and the early evening, catching wonderful artists, and then just walk down the block and there's a beautiful indoor venue with all kinds of hospitality, and those same artists that you've seen do concert sets, do dance sets, and into the late night without disturbing neighbors or anybody downtown, and it's a different crowd. It seems everybody really comes for both and enjoys both situations. Cindy channel that's also presented by the Calgary International Blues Festival. Tell us a bit about that.
You know, funny how life works. I was introduced through a dear friend of mine to this fella named Douglas Berquist, who has created a network of multiple channels, and he didn't have a music channel, and he talked to me about what he was doing, and I was very intrigued, and so we began with archival festival material. We have, you know, really quality video and audio from the big screen and the board at the main at the summer festival. So I approached each one of those artists individually and asked them if I could put one song on the channel and start to build a library there. And then, and nobody said no, not one person. From then, we moved into doing some hybrid events with live performance, live stream, and then capturing. And then Midwinter Blues Festival, because we were locked down tight, I did a coast to coast series, which was kind of fun. So everything from Lindsay Beaver and Brad Stivers in Halifax all the way to Russell Jackson and Kenny Blues Boss Wayne in BC and all points in between. So interesting, but the virtual world really does allow for that during a COVID times when there's no travel and there's no venues to be had. It lends itself to this kind of stuff. What has come out of it, and perhaps the largest digital library of the blues in the world that I'm aware of, and it keeps growing because this will continue to be part of what we do as presenters, is capture those performances with the artist's permission. But also I'm very proud of the fact that we pay musicians 3 times. We pay them for the performance, we pay them for the live stream, and then we pay them again for every time those things are viewed as video on demand. And we pay composers, and it's not, you know, a fraction of a penny a day. I mean, nobody is attempting to replace live music or live performance. That's not it at all. It's another revenue stream for musicians who find it increasingly more difficult to sell product, to tour, to perform with things the way they are, especially this past year. So that was the intent, and it just keeps growing.
And you certainly understand the business from a number of different positions that you've had over the years now as well, which I would assume, and I'd like to get some more information about this, is that kind of where all this started for you, your involvement with various parts of the industry?
The music industry, yes. I didn't start in the music industry. I started in theater when I was very young, and then I studied dance for many years. That was kind of my first career, as it were. I wasn't, you know, a paid dancer, but I did was very just kind of fluked into the music business when I was 18 years old. Somebody offered me a gig, and a month later I was working in major clubs in Calgary with a jazz band of all things. And I think back to those times and some of the people that really supported me. One of them, a dear friend of you and I, Holger, is Gay Delorme, who took me under his wing in those days. That was 1978 at the time. And, from there, I went on to work around as a jazz vocalist. And I thought that I'd take a couple of years, kind of get the festival off the ground, the blues festival, and then go back to singing full time, but it hasn't quite worked out that way. So I still do perform, mostly when I go to Mexico. I have a quartet that I work with in Mexico City, led by a wonderful bassist, Roberto Amos is his name. And then Cordia. So I feel very blessed to be in another one of my favorite places on earth and get to make music too. Yeah, I don't know, the gods smile on me, Holger.
Were there early inspirations as a vocalist that kind of drew you further and further into the music? And people's material that you wanted to learn, people that you respected, people that you got to know?
That's a tough question. I think industry when I was coming up was very much an apprentice mentor relationship. So I learned everything from musicians. I didn't go to school. I didn't study music. I was just blessed to work with some of the greats. And I see that in the blues. Jazz has gone a slightly different route. It's now in major universities, and you go to school and get a degree in the music. But with blues, it is still very much world late to that, and I love it. And the reason I think most of all is because the history gets handed down along with the art form, where I think in the university it can become a little more pedagogy and focused more on the actual performance and not perhaps grasping the entire cultural influence there. I could be misrepresenting somewhat because I haven't gone to university and studied jazz, but it's certainly something that I handle. I do have my favorite vocalists, but that's never really where I learned the music from. I've always listened to instrumentalists and gravitated to that. So I tend to, love bebop, and I love it all really, but probably more in the classic vein. Maybe I'm showing my age there. I don't know. Somebody teased me about, I guess that doesn't mean I'm old, does it?
You do a radio show on CJSW in Calgary, and you've been doing it for years. And do you combine blues in that show, or is it pretty much a jazz radio show?
It is all blues. It's called The Blues Witness. And honestly, it's a little piece of sanctuary every week. I really love being able to just sit quietly and play music that, I've just heard or that joy radio. And radio is, it's a funny thing because I think you can relate to this. There was a time when nobody knew what a radio host looked like. Suddenly it's become a kind of a profile thing, and people want to see who it is behind that microphone. But, it is a bit of it takes a step away from the public world, so to speak, and you're quiet behind a microphone. And there are opportunities to do some interviews. Channel, do my first VJ program of the Blues Witness. So that was, definitely in front of the camera, and a new experience for me. But yeah, the Blues Witness, I think it's about 12 years now that I've been doing it, and loving it.
Who are some of the people that you interviewed on your show?
Lots of Canadians, Rita Shirelli, Monkey Junk, Tim Williams, Donald Ray Johnson, David Gogo, lots of Canadians from the States. But now, currently, because of COVID, I've been doing my show at home for quite a while, and it's not quite so easy to do interviews on air. It's a little easier in the studio because they have the capacity to do those call-in interviews. But there's nothing quite like sitting across a desk from somebody when you're doing an interview. It lends itself somehow to just a more intimate and maybe freer interview process. I'm still a baby compared to you. I was negligent because Holger, you are one of my mentors, and you've been extremely kind and supportive and generous, and shared some ideas with me and guided me, and I can't thank you enough. And in fact, there's 3 Albertans that have been incredible for me, and that's you, Cam Hayden, and Peter North, all CKUA born gents who also do many other things in the music industry. But a lot of support, and I'm super grateful for that.
Well, thank you, Cindy, for saying that. I appreciate it.
Very true.
I've been talking to a few blues announcers just recently, and people have different ways of doing shows these days. Do you? What's your process? Some people actually cut CDs. They do their show on a CD and deliver it to the station. Other people aren't getting mail because it's all going to the station. You're not allowed to go to the station or whatever. How is this affecting you? And
I have a fairly decent collection. It's more contemporary than what the station might offer. I don't have, decades of stuff. I have more, say, the last 15 years worth of stuff. I do get recordings quite frequently in the mail, both as a festival presenter and for the radio show. And a lot of people, of course, send digital tracks. It's been a year for me of learning technology, Logic Pro, the recording program that I do my show on, and all points in between when it comes to technology. It's been good. It's amazing how much you can produce from your own home. I've always worked from home, actually. We don't have offices for the festival. I've opted instead to pour the money back into the festival, and especially programming is really important to me. So, I don't have we don't have need to learn how to do my radio show at home. And again, I had support there because it's not the most intuitive recording program and software in the world. So it helped to have guidance. I can't say I'm an old hat, but I've been doing it about a year now.
Well, getting back to the festival, I'd like to just maybe get some personal, remembrances from you about some of the highlights. Maybe some of the that were very, very difficult for you to nail down. Just working with some of, and I know so many of these people are heroes to you. Could you tell us a bit about a couple of maybe ones that stand out for you that have been really important and that you're really proud to have worked with and presented over the years?
You know, I have to say there hasn't been any that I don't feel that way about. I'm really, truly humbled by the talent out there. I think of the veterans, people like Bobby Rush, for example. You know, when Bobby Rush came to play the festival, two things floored me. I don't go out of my way to have my photo taken with artists. And, you know, I think that they're there to do a festival. If they want to meet me, that's great, but I don't get in their face, as it were. I kind of let them be until after their performance, and then they're more relaxed. But anyway, he hunted me down the moment his feet. That's really something to me to be, you know, even near the man in his presence. They lost all his luggage and all his band's luggage. And in there were all his instruments as well. And, you know, Bobby Rush, as so many artists are, is really dresses for gigs. So it was a big deal to him. And, you know, I can't not talk about the festival without bringing up our volunteers. They took him. I had a friend backstage who had a purse full of makeup, and so all the backup gals were, you know, putting their faces on backstage, and someone lent him some harps. And when he hit that stage, nobody knew what had happened. It was just like, without a blink, he went out there and did one of the most jaw-dropping shows I've ever seen. And that really impacted me, that, you know, people, true professionals, nothing phases them when it comes to performing. It was quite an to see Matt Guitar Murphy on our stage, and that was, I think, one of the last shows that he did. And he worked with a local band that he'd worked with in the past. He had history here with the Bill Dowie Band. We just lost Bill a few months ago, but you know, those quiet sidemen that a lot of people may not recognize their names, but they're key players on the scene, and that was Bill Dowie. He backed a lot of greats in Calgary. Johnny Winter was another one whom we were very small. It was our second year, and Johnny was quite frail, and I hadn't put enough protection at the front of the stage, and the entire audience crowded to the front of the stage, and my heart was in my throat thinking, oh my God, if just one person jumped on stage, we would, you know, we'd have a real problem on our hands. But everybody was just so respectful. He was just magnetic, and everybody wanted to be close to him because McDonald was also there that year, and they were long time friends. So that was a really wonderful reunion to see those two connect with one another. Sister Monica, I think, was another big inspiration for me. It's incredible how one human can fill an entire venue, outdoor venue, with love. And she did. What a powerful, oh God, Holger, I could go on forever. There's been so many. I'm just feel so blessed to, for each and every one of them, truly. I should say, I also get a real kick out of introducing artists to audiences that may have never heard of them or heard them in person. One that comes to mind immediately is the Ghost Town Blues Band, who just won the Maple Blues Award for International Band of the Year. I heard them in Memphis. I hired them the same Vegas for the show and then turned around and drove back home the next day. I couldn't believe it. And there was another fine example. I mean, I think it took them 3 or 4 days to get there. And they got on that stage, and the amount of energy those guys exuded was just staggering. People fell in love with them. Of course, they're so wonderful. And that gives me a kick. I like that.
And Bobby Rush, speaking of Bob, traditional blues album of the year for Raw Than Wah, his second Grammy, and what is he now, 86 or something like that, 87. And yeah, he everywhere he goes, he's so impressive and so personable. It's just one of the pleasures of the blues world that Bobby Rush is around doing what he does, you know.
Well, and it's the real deal. He really has committed every ounce, every scrap of energy, and along with from the Chitlin circuit up. It really is an honor to even be near someone like that. Holger, last year, God, was that? Yeah, no, I guess that was 2 years ago now. I've lost a year of my life. You invited me to an interview that you did with Maria Muldauer, who hasn't played the festival. I had actually wanted her to come, and then of course COVID. But there's someone else that I find great inspiration. Her informative, and it's so unique, and she digs so deep, and I really appreciate that kind of inspiration. I'm very, very thankful for that.
Calgary has a long history of supporting blues in clubs and radio, your festival. Did you spend much time at the King Eddie, which was kind of blues central for many years?
I was always in the shadows there because I was a jazz musician. But a lot of the blues musicians and I were close friends. We had a great deal of mutual respect. And so, and also it wasn't uncommon to drop by there after gigs because we always knew it would be warm and welcoming. And so, tuxedos and ball gowns aside, it didn't matter. You could go in there and find a table and hear some of the best music on the planet. So, it was easy for me to drop by and hear great music in there.
For people who are maybe not from the province and don't know the scene too well, go to Calgary and check out the King Eddie Hotel, which is now rebuilt as the National Music Center. It's a fascinating place to visit, spend an afternoon. Nice restaurant attached to it, lots of history on the walls, and also the Rolling Stones mobile truck is part in mobile truck that has made history, not only with Rolling Stones recordings, but Bob Marley's live album. I think it started the Faces. It was their mobile unit before they sold it to the Stones. Led Zeppelin have used it. All kinds of people have used it, and Calgary is wonderful at presenting the music. So if you have a chance, go to Calgary and enjoy the blues there. CK Way has their Calgary Hotel, so it's a pretty good environment. Nowadays, once COVID is over, what do you think the club scene is going to be like in Calgary? Because it's been pretty robust in the blues and roots music area leading up to all this. Compared to a lot of cities, I think Calgary has a really great live music scene.
Wow, that's nice to hear, Holger. I of course am unduly proud of it because it's my hometown. I think there are, for club owner perspectives that are really keen to keep live music alive. They've found a way, each one has their own recipe, as it were. They've committed to building venues with stages and proper sound systems. And, lots of people hang a shingle and say, I'm a club, but they don't necessarily invest in that perspective to have true production value. So I think when you have that, you can draw professional things, So I think the Ironwood in Inglewood is incredible. And of course, Mikey's Juke Joint. Mike just has a new album coming out, by the way, Mike Clark. So that's just around the corner. And when Mike was in his club, Mikey's on 12th, Tommy Castro Band came down one night and picked up Mike and took him on the blues cruise. And so, it's interesting how that full circle happened as well.
And there's a real legend of blues living in the Calgary with presented in different ways. It's nice to see people like Amos in the community, of course, and they bring a lot of other things to the community as well.
Amos, I just did this fall. Well, no, it wasn't in the fall. It was COVID time. So, I guess it could have been. I can't quite remember. Maybe it was November. I did an interview with Amos on camera. I had a filmmaker come, and we went into a venue that is up for sale, sadly, in High River. Where realtor very kindly opened the door up and let us go in and shoot this interview. And it was very freeform. Amos is not a hard guy to interview. He's just so full of stories, and he's not unwilling to share, which is really helpful for someone like me. You're good at pulling stuff out of people, but it was, he's such an incredible guy, and the amount of things that guy has done. Someone else like that here is Donald Ray Johnson. The Canadian landscape and ecology of the blues. But I mean, he's a Grammy Award winner, for crying out loud. And, an incredible drummer who now makes his living as a singer more than as a drummer. Great talent. Tim Williams, two-time winner, a winner of the IBC in 2 categories, and also an incredible historian. I love to just sit in the booth in the back when Tim is performing and listen to him, because is like going to university, just listening quietly. Also in the province, of course, people like Cat Dancer and Jimmy Kabosh, and there's some great musicians in Alberta, and I'm so proud to be a part of it. I really am.
Are you part of the IBCs as well? Yes.
Yes. The first time we participated, which was 2014, was the year that we won 2 awards, or Tim won 2 awards. Yep. And I have to say, theater on the day of the finals, and when they said Calgary Blues Music Association, my knees went out. Oh my God, that's Tim! I was so excited and so thrilled. But he just is so deserving, and it was really, really great to see him acknowledged that way, because he deserves it every step of the way.
Yeah.
It's a great thing to from pulling societies together, to Generation Blues, to being a home for the Heart Fund. There's a lot of initiatives there. The Blues Museum, some of the great panel work they've been doing lately, and getting some dialogue happening around race relations, which is a big topic right now in the blues. And I think we all, have something to learn here. And so I'm grateful that they've taken a lead in that sense.
Tim Williams won 2 awards at the IBCs, and for people that may not know some of these local heroes, Tim's history goes back to California when he was produced by Chris Datchwich from Arhoolie Records. He had a deal with Epic Records, and he had some blues pioneers playing with him on his early records before he came to Canada. Donald Ray Johnson came to Canada and loved the Calgary scene and moved there as well. And a love of fly fishing and duck hunting, and has remained. And Amos, of course, was part of the Paul Butterfield Better Days band. An incredibly successful session musician in the 70s and 80s, played on literally hundreds, probably 1,000 or 2 records from everybody from people like Bonnie Raitt and Maria Muldaur to Stevie Wonder to Martin Mull, Bobby Charles, Ian and Sylvia. The list just goes on.
Thanks.
Yes.
Truly. Jimmy Payne is another one that I think very much worth mentioning because, Jimmy and George Phillip, who a lot of people aren't familiar with George, but he came here with Jimmy. He's been here a long time. They both are from the Caribbean, and both really formed the backbone of the scene here for a long, long time. And they were, George is still with us, and his group, the Groove Crew, continues. They just lost a key member with keep the group together. And George is a fascinating interview as well. I could talk with him for hours. They've done so much, it's hard to imagine. And Canadian music history, starting in the 60s in Toronto area and then moving west from there.
Yeah. Cindy, I love the way you run the festival, in the sense that hospitality is a very important part of your festival. Couldn't you, Calgary Blues Festival?
I think that it's a shared experience, and I want for everyone to have the same takeaway, that of happiness and safety and love and comfort. I think musicians are the greatest marketers on the planet. So when they go away and talk about it as a great place to play, that's really helping us. I'm unduly proud of our volunteer team, incredibly dedicated and wonderful. I don't micromanage. I try to find key people to handle key areas, and they make it so. And it's just the greatest honor. I'm also proud of the fact that I reached out several years ago to 2 homeless agencies who send their clients to us as volunteers. And, we are far and away the winners in this year. They found a family there, the Blues Fest family there. Some of them have taken on greater roles. One of those people that at one time was suffering misfortune, and now runs the late night venue, and everyone answers to him, so to speak. So it's a place where I really want people to feel safe, to feel happy, to go away feeling like that was really special.
Also, go to a signing tent, which is just about every artist I think that has played your festival, just about every one of them does that. And of course, that connection between the artist and the audience is so important, and between the volunteers and the artists. It just, as you say, it's part of a community, really, that those things happen. And that has been a pretty successful part of your festival, is the artists signing afterwards and selling their CDs, and we encourage people to do that, and the results speak for themselves, I guess.
I do. It's getting harder and harder to travel with product. There are, well, frankly, artists often get dinged at the border for tax and surcharges on their own product. So some are hesitant to do that, to bring material across the border. I ask them, many of them, to send them in advance, and that saves them that. I think in today's world, where it becomes increasingly harder to sell product, with fewer and fewer retail outlets, fewer and fewer gigs, because most people are selling product off the stage in today's world, the musicians. So I think it's really critical to give them a window to be able to do that. Nobody has ever said no. If they have the product, they're so happy to meet. It reminds me of years ago, I was a house vocalist at BAMS, and I'm really showing my age because some people watching this aren't even going to know who that is. But he stayed for about a week, and one of the things that I will always remember about, he came in for dinner where I was working, performing, and they offered him the booth in the back, in the corner, in the dark, and he said, "Hell no, these are the people that made me who I am." He sat front and center. He danced with people all night. He hauled me off the stage and danced me around the dance floor. And that always struck me, that someone with more, probably closer to 60, he never forgot who it was that made him who he was. And there's such a great lesson there about musicians and audience members. And I never forget that either, because what's the point in having a festival? You can have all the great talent in the world you want. If there isn't someone there to listen, you're missing something. So we all are a part of this. There isn't anything that can be taken away and have it remain matters deeply.
Well, in case you've kind of joined us halfway or towards the end, I'm Holger Petersen. This is Cindy McLeod. She is the recipient of the John Valenteyn Blues Booster Award, presented by the Toronto Blues Society and Maple Blues Awards. It's an honor to have Cindy on the program with us tonight. And Cindy, I don't know if you can see, I've got the odd little message here on the bottom of the screen. And there was a question, and it's gone. Send it back our way. But if people do have questions, you can type them in, and in theory, they will appear on our screen here.
Yeah, down on the bottom of Zoom, if you run your mouse down there, there's a thing.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a question on Facebook.
My question is, do you see it? My question, let's see here. Okay. Oh, right. Okay. So here's part of the chat conversation. Have you got that on your screen?
Yeah. That's my mom's name. Shauna, this is not my mom asking the question, but wow, what a fantastic question, Shauna. Thank you so much. That reminds me of something that I'm really keeping an open mind about, because to be honest, at first it kind of put me off, which is this business of women in blues. And, I grew up in this era of women wanting equality, and it seemed so counterintuitive to me I'm getting a better understanding of why that's important to some women. And so, Shauna, I'm not skirting your question, but you know, you're giving me a lot to think about, because that has been something that I've given a lot of thought to. I think that for me, I think that business is about ethics. Business is about strength, about receptivity, collaboration. Woman, and you're in a decision maker, then make the decision and don't second guess it. Many times that I've been at a table in a business setting with women, I hear them frame a question. Well, you know, I was kind of, gee, I might be wrong, but, you know, and it's like, no, men don't talk like that. Women have got to learn to come to the table and say, you know, what I have is of equal value, and walk tall with that. And I think also, you know, I think that sometimes, and this is not specific to women, or sometimes it's an expectation of women, sexuality can enter the workplace. And I think that, you know, it's a difficult thing, but I think it can be overcome by simply staying on task, being strong, and focused on, you know, what's at hand. I hope that answers your question, Shauna. That's a really long discussion. Feel free to reach out to me sometime. And we also, I see Linda Andres has posted something really beautiful there. And thank you, Linda. Linda is an arts leader herself, and she's just the recent past president of the Arts Touring Alliance of Alberta, and a great leader and a great arts supporter in her hometown of Bassano. So really nice that she's joined us here.
As part of your responsibility with the Calgary Blues Society International Blues Festival, do you liaise with all the other arts as well, attending board meetings, being part of that conversation?
I do. You know, advocacy, I think, is a role that, you know, we need to play. And advocacy versus lobbying. And I think those are really two very distinctly different things. I think that, you know, effective complaining or coming to the table with solutions and not just complaints is a really critical thing. I think, you know, if women want to be involved, then they've got and wait for someone to ask. You know, and I think because I have quite a long history in the arts in Alberta, perhaps I have some background knowledge that maybe someone new to the industry might not have. So to me, it's really important to give back and to bring the blues voice everywhere I can. So I do sit on boards. I sat on the Arts Touring Alliance board. I sat on Alberta. I sit currently on the PAL Calgary board, which is a group that builds accessible housing for arts workers. I sit on the Blues Fest board. So yeah, I do quite a bit of that. And I collaborate wherever possible when it comes to programming as well. So the last year that we did a real festival, 2019, there were an extra 32 events that summer that were programmed with partners, from Calgary Airport to Heritage Park to National Music, Airdrie, a city just north of Calgary, Pro Arts Society. So really, that is all about accessibility. I never want money to be a barrier for anybody in accessing the blues. There are families, there are people that have limited income or limited mobility or whatever the reasons might be. Children that parents don't want to sit in a park all day with their kids. They will come to a concert outdoors to reach the youth, especially exposing the blues to kids. The blues was for so long in the clubs and not being handed down to children. So I think this is the most critical role that festivals can play, is delivering the music to the youth and engaging them. And the volunteer team accounts for that as well. Our volunteers range from 9 years old to 92 years old. And I think that's just amazing.
92-year-old.
Find a space, and people all have something to offer. We have people that have terrible mobility issues or can't speak, or any number of issues that or challenges that they may have. There's always room for somebody. Always.
Sure. I hope that there's a blues summit next year, because it gives us all an opportunity to get together.
Yes.
And in your capacity with the Calgary Blues Festival, is there a lot of other dialogue throughout the year with other few informed of what's going on with other festivals?
I've gotten to know quite a few people in the blues. I think we could stand more dialogue always amongst ourselves. That's something that COVID has actually brought on, is national discussions in the blues community, which is really great. And certainly through participation in the IBC and the, let's start with the Blues Summit. I mean, that's where main fans and collaborate to this day. And then there's the IBC, where there's the Kooky Canuck, and it's all Canadian, societies. That's a great opportunity to meet people and hear artists from across Canada in a live setting as well. The showcases. And so I think as much as there is, I would still like more. It's such a big country, and what I wish is just that I could go to every festival in Canada and see other people do things. Halifax, for example, which is so far away. I'd love to go and really spend some time there and get a sense of the ecology. I mentioned the National Music Centre. I wanted to get back to that for just one moment, because I think it's a really important piece of what we do. And our mandate as a festival is to preserve, foster, and present blues music and musicians. So I think that, and you mentioned it tonight, the King Eddie, it really hit me hard. You can't take a step without seeing BB's name, or it's just everywhere. But in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, there isn't a lot of blues presence. And so I've come up with a series that's called A Walk Through Blues History. I've asked John Rutherford, another key player in the blues landscape here in Calgary, radio host, ex-radio host, and performer, writer, incredible human. And John does the interview about a frame of reference to talk about where the music comes from, how it informs the music that we hear today, how did it make its way to Canada, how does it influence what we're doing in Canada from a blues perspective, and so on. So there's some cultural references and things like that we may not have at our fingertips in Calgary otherwise.
You're talking about an extension of the actual blues festival, which goes on and then to do special programming for you. And as you mentioned, the historical part of that week. So it's way beyond just booking a blues festival, what you do. It's there's a lot more to it than that. And maybe we could just we don't have a lot of time left, but could you talk a bit about that, that part of the programming that you do?
Yeah, that's where a lot of the partnering comes in. We do usually partner with the Heritage Park people as well, because they have, you know, an historical components, Vest, who can really speak to the history of the blues as he performs. We have started 2 scholarships. One is for writing, more the composition side of music, and the other for someone I considered to be the matriarch of the blues in Calgary, who is a long-term waitress at the King Eddie. And Jo was, you know, a single mom who hauled musician. And so I thought we'd honor her with an award for women in blues. And, you know, that's a way to also encourage youth and bring them into the fold, as it were. I do some blues in the schools programming. It's Airdrie actually has been remarkable that way. They pull 550 kids from different schools and put them into the theater there. So that's really great for exposing historical venue called Cathedral Church of the Redeemer in downtown Calgary. And that's kind of nice. You get there's a daycare that comes by. There's people that come bring their lunch from work. There are, you know, people with limited mobility that find it accessible because it's close to, you know, it's easy for handy buses and things like that. So I really like that. I really appreciate being able to pull people in. With the Midwinter Blues Fest, we've been, I think, one of the things that we normally do there that has been running 15 years is a thing called the Sing in the Blues Vocal Camp. So singers of all skill levels take a master class with a master vocalist, and then they perform the next night with a band. And we help them. We help them. The original intent was, you know, there's a lot of jamming that goes on, and the intent was to give singers a roadmap. So when they got on stage, they could say, okay, here's the key, here's the tempo, here's the feel, you know, that kind of thing. And because people who have never sung a note in their life get up there and sometimes just blow you away with their performances, and everybody walks away on air because they've got to work with a band. What a thrill.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that we do.
Yeah. And you do it all so well, Cindy. You are truly an inspiration in our community. You help so many different people and so many different artists. And on behalf of the Toronto Blues Society and everybody involved with the Maple Blues Booster Awards, thank you very much for being with us tonight and sharing all this information with us.
Holger, thank you so much. You make it so easy. It really is. I can't even describe what an honor this has been. And to be the recipient of the John Valenteyn Blues Booster of the Year Award has been really one of the highlights of my life. I'm super grateful to Toronto Blues Society. And thank you for being the one to interview me. I can't even believe it. Thank you so much.
Great job as always. You know, people overlook how much work you do on behalf of all of us. So thank you for that, Huma.
Thank you, Huma.
Thank you so much. And Cindy, congrats again for the award. And thank you so much again, everyone, for tuning in tonight, and hope you enjoyed this interview. This will be, as we're recording this, this will be available on the our Facebook page. It will live there, and then we will be uploading it to YouTube channel, to the TBS YouTube channel, so you can still, rewatch, share this interview, and I guess make sure to check out Calgary Blues Festival's website and social media as well as their new channel on Public Place Network to follow their upcoming events. And the TBS will be back actually next Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time with a special video premiere featuring interviews and performances of Mel Brown, Jeff Healey, and Eddie Clearwater from Mako Funosaka Archives. It's going to be our first episode, and you can find all this information on our website as well as social media. And we hope you can join us. Otherwise, we all wish you a happy week, I guess.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Can I just mention the next pioneer? Because you've announced it, right?
Yes.
Harrison Kennedy?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I'm glad I went before him instead of after. One of my favorite people and an absolute brilliant musician.
Exactly. And we're so excited to host him here. The interviewer there will be the recent Juno nominee, Julian Taylor. So we're very excited about that as well. It's going to be on April 1st. It's a Thursday. Again, at the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, same format. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Holger. Good night, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.